Hey everyone, Civic Extraordinaire here, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to get a video out and quickly look over each civilization before the April update, where everyone is, not everyone, two-thirds of the Civilization 6 roster, so roughly 35 civilizations in April will be getting a balance change. So I thought it would be a great opportune moment to go over each civilization very briefly and give my opinion on whether or not they have been buffed enough, or they still need to be tweaked, maybe even nerfed with some of these stronger god tier civs. So I'm not going to be talking about some of the broader mechanics. Well, I made a little just in case they impact the civilization, but I just want to quickly get into this and kind of give my unique take on the civilizations and my experience with playing them. So first of all, we have actually a very potent civilization here. One of my favorites in the game, actually, Teddy Roosevelt and America. And he has some very strong Founding Fathers bonuses, and he also really shines with national parks. That's actually where he really comes in, because those are especially powerful when you take Bull Moose into account. Rough Rider, not so much. He's more of a city-state angle. But when you take into the national park, when you take the national park bonuses into account, especially since with each national park you get increased appeal, you can really start to game home around. Maybe I would decrease breathtaking tiles just a little bit, maybe just a tad bits. But aside from that, I think he's at a fairly stable location. I think you'd have to go back to the preserve and kind of nerf that just a tiny bit. But as I said earlier, I won't get too much into that topic because it can get a bit extensive. Alright, so next on the list is Saladin. He can be fairly fun to play as he leads Arabia, and he has some very interesting synergistic bonuses with faith and science. I really like how he nicely ties science and faith together. I would say maybe just give him some more unique interactive maybe a motif with the desert, since, 95% of Saudi Arabia and I guess the Middle East is mostly desert as well, and it's kind of just odd that he doesn't have any interaction with that, especially since the Mali are the only civilization that has an interaction with the desert. That's kind of all I have to say about them. I guess the madrasa is a nice little feature there with their building. I really love the design, but by itself, that bonus faith isn't as powerful as something like extra science. So next, I guess we have John Kirsch, and he is actually insane. We have some really powerful civs starting off here, but he's probably one of the strongest civs in the game just because of how well his Outback Station functions. If you didn't know, it is basically able to terraform the desert, and it has very lenient requirements. You can place them next to each other. You can get additional food and production right off the bat, so it allows Australia to thrive anywhere. And on top of that, Australia's bonus, Land Down Under, grants additional appeal and housing to coastal cities. So campuses, commercial hubs, holy sites, and all of that specialty district jazz basically are stronger from charming appeal tiles, and that is super, super powerful. So, and also, John Curtin's bonus, I should mention this too, Citadel of Civilization. If you declare war on him and you want to knock him down a peg, well, guess what? He's going to get bonus production, and 100% production to be precise. They actually had to nerf this just because it was so insane. You could have production for 20 turns in each and every city, which is insane, just because someone declared war on you. So, yeah, I guess if I had to nerf Australia, I don't know, I'd probably have to redesign their entire toolkit, but maybe just turn down the extra housing from coasts as well as the bonuses from the coast and appeal and whatnot. But they're still a fun civ to play. It's just that they are a bit overtuned, if I can say. Anyhow, we have the Aztecs next. This is the first civ I'll probably say that I don't really have any too strong opinions on. They're very good at the early game, but I don't consider them overpowered. It's kind of fun to rush different districts with them because of their ability. You can steal warriors, well, not warriors, you can steal builders by killing enemy civilizations' warriors. I think that applies to city-states too, and you get extra combat strength from luxuries. So, I guess maybe I'd give them a lake bonus. I guess with Montezuma, they're kind of focused towards war, so nothing too interesting with them. Next, we have Hamurabi. I think he's in the same place. He has such a distinctive play style, If you wanted to change him or nerf him, you'd probably have to just completely rebalance his entire toolkit, and I don't think the devs want to do that, at least not the way they worded their statements. I really like playing with the Palgoom, and that's probably my favorite part of the toolkit. I actually listed him as one of my least favorite civilizations. Maybe I'll link the video in the top right corner of the video, just so you can see that. But after playing him and streaming him a little bit, my opinion has changed. And I don't hate him nearly as much, but I know a lot of people like him, and I think if the devs changed him, that would kind of piss some people off. Pedro, he's kind of similar to Russia with how he interacts with jungle. I don't know if I would change him. I think he's in a pretty safe spot. Though the entertainment districts are very, very interesting. Also, Byzantium, one of my least favorite civilizations, man. I just hate them. Let me just flat out say I hate them. I don't know. You'd have to completely rework them for me to like them. But I guess maybe just nerf the holy city spree you can go on and just conquer a bunch of holy cities and be completely overpowered. Taxes can be a bit disgusting. I guess the additional great profit points from holy sites, though, is nice for getting an early religion. That's probably all I'll say about the Byzantines. Canada, man, this is a really rough civilization. Probably one of the worst civilizations. I think I even ranked them like F tier in my civ list, which I've only ranked like one other civilization. I think that was Georgia. And man, they are just rough. The Mountie I actually like. They are super, super unique. And I feel that they were really trying to create an interesting synergy between Canada with diplomatic missions and all that kind of stuff, especially with national parks and kind of just going out of their way to be like a generalist. But I feel like they're stretched a bit too thin. Maybe another unique improvement could be interesting. The ice hockey rink is powerful, but it comes a bit late. I know it used to be like in sports and recreation, which is super late, and now it's just colonialism. But I feel like they could get some better boost to Tundra, and maybe something like a great railway hotel. I know Canada is super famous for those. That could grant extra tourism or something like that, or do something with the tundra, the tundra or snow. I think that could help them out, but they need a lot of work. They're definitely a lot better from where they were in GS, though, or in Gathering Storm. China, I think Kublai Khan's the only one that needs work with China. Qin Shi Huang is fairly consistent. He's like B tier in my lists. But with inspirations and eurekas, I think Kublai Khan, at least China Kublai Khan, could use a buff to maybe like trade route speed. And dynastic cycle itself is a bit weak. China's really made by Qin Shi Huang's abilities. You can just see here he gets like an extra builder charge. He's able to rush early builders, ancient and classical wonders, which is fabulous, especially since so many new wonders are being included, especially with Etenanki. I think that's ancient. Just with the more wonders that are included in the ancient and classical era, he gets stronger and stronger. So he is just amazing. Probably B plus tier, maybe even A if you can really pull something off with him. But Kublai Khan, I don't feel nearly the same amount of synergy with China. And his economic policy slot is strong, but I think maybe he could get some increased trade route speed, just a better time the Gerege bonus for the Eurekas and Inspirations once he completes a trading post in another foreign civilization, for those of you who didn't know. Maybe you could just expand that too, but I feel like that would buff Kublai Khan for Mongolia more so maybe just increased trade route speed for like golden ages could be interesting. All right, Pound Maker. He is actually pretty fun to play with. I know the Make Wap can be a bit strict with its placements, at least early on, if I can click it. But I will say, I don't know, maybe just make the requirements for the Make Wap less strict and just kind of move these bonuses up, like from civil service. That comes a bit too late, as well as conservation. Just move those up a bit. And then I would say make the Okichital a bit stronger. It is quite weak since it replaces a scout. And I think that's probably all I have to say about the Kree. You could probably move them from C to B tier just with those few changes. I don't know if Pound Maker can be changed any bit, but I really love their bonuses towards trade routes. That is really fun when you can trade or claim unclaimed tiles with traders. That is super, super fun, especially since you get that trader early with pottery. When it works with the Kree, you can really expand quickly, and I like that about them. Now, the Dutch, I would say Wilhelmina is definitely the lackluster part of this kit. I mean, +1 loyalty to domestic trade routes, and then +1 culture to like international trade routes. That's really, really weak. That's probably all I'll say about them. Maybe an alternate leader like Wilhelm of Oranje could help, but I don't know. Maybe like it just make those yields stronger. That's all I'll say. The Polder and Dezeven Provincien are perfectly fine, as well as Groltrivieren. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But I guess Wilhelmina just really needs some buffs. Now, Cleopatra in Egypt, I think they're about C or B tier. The floods really helped them. And the Sphinxes are interesting. I know they've kind of changed them around in Gathering Storm. But aside from that, I think Egypt is in a fairly stable place. They can be a bit boring since you're just sitting around and waiting for floods with Iteru. I guess maybe Mediterranean's Bride could be changed. It is a bit boring. I mean, trading bonuses are probably like the most boring bonus in the game. So I guess change those around. Not to just be stronger, just to be more exciting. Maybe some kind of unique war bonus, not too sure. Anyhow, Victoria in England, this civilization has received so many damn buffs. Like, you can just click on their log here and just look at all the changes they have had. They've had an entirely different reworked ability. I don't know if many civilizations have had this. Probably not. I honestly don't tell anyone this, but I like British Museum better than Workshop of the World. Workshop just comes in too late for me. British Museum comes in late too, but I mean, it was more fun in my opinion. So I think Victoria is perfectly fine. She's more of a domination civilization, but Eleanor, right here, I guess I'll cover her in her French counterparts. I just think she needs something more. She doesn't come in nearly too much, and she kind of suffers from the same problem England and France have, which is their abilities kick in way too late, which leaves them very, very vulnerable. Specifically with things like the Sea Dog and the Guard Imperial. Other civilizations don't have the same challenges as they do, usually because other abilities just kick in earlier. Like with Ethiopia and the Oromo Cavalry. I mean, of course, it comes in later at like castles, but at least Ethiopia can build the rock-hewn church much later at like culture or drama and poetry. So, speaking of which, though, with Ethiopia, they are actually very strong. I'd say they're like A tier, or like a 9 out of 10 for those of you who don't like letter rankings. I think Oromo Cavalry is probably their weakest toolkit, maybe Axumat Legacy. But I think they're a very balanced civ. I wouldn't move them anywhere else. I mean, their Secret Society interaction can be a bit broken. But I mean, I think I'm just considering them without the different game modes. Maybe just change the Secret Societies just a bit so Ethiopia isn't so broken when they synergize with them, though. Or at least just go with Void Singers. Anyhow, France I've kind of already covered, Eleanor of Aquitaine, but the same problem kind of extends to Catherine de Medici. She has some problems with getting her abilities out early. They come at castles, which is like in the medieval era, a bit too late for me in my opinion. But once they come in, they are fairly nice. I'd say the Chateau is also very powerful, especially with Magnificence Catherine. But aside from that, maybe just make some of these abilities come in early. I mean, Grand Tour as well, very boring bonus. Just give them some river bonus. France has a ton of rivers. I mean, hell, the Chateau synergizes. Not synergizes. It must be built right next to a river. So at least give them some river prioritization and something like a small boost to rivers. I don't know, maybe additional district construction. I think Egypt might have that, but just something with rivers. Maybe additional tourism. Ambiorix, the Gaul, I think they're actually fairly balanced. I really wouldn't change anything about them. They are my favorite civ, but I mean, aside from that, I wouldn't change anything. Tamar, actually, I would change a lot of things about her. Maybe make hills have faith. Her hilly starts can be hard to get additional food out, so that can be a bit hard. And the Sike has been changed a lot. I don't think I'd change anything with the Sike, but Georgia can just really struggle, especially without the Void Singers for that faith conversion. So maybe make the Kev Sur a bit stronger too. I don't think they're replaced, actually. One of the big problems with the Cave Sewer, at least for my last time playing them, is that they're unique and you can't upgrade warriors into them. I would change that and make warriors upgrade into the Cave Sewer, since that would make them a lot more potent. And their hill bonus is very nice, especially when you're defending your home territory. And, I don't know, make the Protectorate Wars, or whatever her unique bonus is for warfare, Just get rid of that. They had a hard on for this in Rise and Fall, especially with like Scotland and Bannockburn and all those other civilizations with these weird abstract war declarations and casus bellis. I mean, just to get rid of that and add something in that is more unique. Maybe you can faith by city buildings. I know that's a unique city-state bonus, but I mean, just something interesting. Maybe additional faith for hills. Just something that makes Georgia more viable. So, who is next? Frederick Barbarossa. Ooh, you are extremely powerful, Frederick. He has a very simple but very powerful ability. Each city can build more than, or one more district. He increases the district capacity specifically by 1, which seems very simple, but I mean, you can really get some early Hanses out with this, and it is just very potent. I don't know if I'd change anything about them. Maybe just kind of nerf the Hanses adjacency bonuses, because that production can be insane. Simon Bolivar, I don't know if I'd change anything about him. His bonuses are super basic. But again, like Germany, they are very potent. Same with Greece, too. I don't know. I think Simon Bolivar, after his change, is fine. I don't know. You'd have to, he's like one of the civs like Babylon. You'd have to completely rework him to kind of make sense of that. But his toolkit is fine. Greece, on the other hand, their basic ability is super basic. I don't know if I'd add anything. Maybe additional synergy with the coast. Maybe culture from the coasts. And I think the Acropolis is fine as it is. It's actually kind of fun to play with because you get additional adjacency bonuses from nearby districts, which makes it easier to build Acropoli. I guess I could change Pericles up a bit. His bonus, 5% culture for each suzerainty. Not very fun to play with, not very distinct. The same with Gorgo for culture on kills. She's kind of similar to Ambiorix around getting culture for units. I think I wouldn't change too much with Greece. Maybe just coastal synergy for Plato's Republic, their base ability. Alright, I think we're halfway through. Hungary, I probably wouldn't change anything about them. Maybe buff their thermal bath a bit. Give them some science for that. I really love the design too. Super unique. But again, some science for that. Maybe make it come a bit earlier. I don't know. Natural history is a bit late for a thermal bath replacement, or just a thermal bath. Again, Hungary's fine. They kind of nerfed him a bit. He was super powerful beforehand. The Inca, however, they are super insane with preserves. I just nerf preserves. Aside from that, maybe give them some unique interaction with specialists. They're fine in my opinion. Fairly balanced. India, on the other hand, really needs something with stepwells. I feel they're super underpowered. Chandragupta made them somewhat salvageable by giving them an early war focus. But the stepwell is super weak. Just give it something, give it some pizzazz. Something that really makes them snap. That food and faith is not really potent after like the ancient era. I mean, it comes early, yes, and it looks pretty. But out of that, I mean, I guess you can place it on snow, but that food and faith, just give it some science or cultures, even production. I mean, pops on their own aren't really that strong, especially since this game incentivizes wide play, which means settling a lot of cities. I don't know, just give them something, some pizzazz, some jazz, something that makes you snap and say, damn, that stepwell is super good. Anyhow, Indonesia, they are a balanced civ. I wouldn't change anything about them. Maybe make the coast and lake tiles a bit more forgiving. It's kind of hard to get that adjacency bonus. It used to be +1, but that was changed like a while ago. So it used to be +1. I don't think they have it in their change notes, but they're fine. I think Hojo is also fine. Maybe change the electronics factory around a bit. His synergy with, not his synergy, but the Japan's ability is super powerful, especially since it synergizes with Meiji Restoration. Not Meiji Restoration, Divine Wind, which means cheaper districts. So, super good. Probably A tier or S tier. Teo Armin, though, I would say he's one of the few civs that I would give a unique district to. Maybe in addition to the Prasat. I really think the Domrey is okay. They're fun to play with. You can shoot with ranged elephants. That's kind of it. But, I mean, they're an okay unit. Maybe slightly above average. But I don't really play the Kume for their ranged elephants. I play them just because it's fun to place around their aqueducts and get insane cities. +2 food for adjacent farms is really, really nice. But out of that, I would just make Teowarman have some kind of unique beret, maybe bonus science and culture from flooding. And if he can't have that, because he is like a base game civ, maybe just make his relics more powerful. Outside of that, actually, you know what? Give him something to get pantheons early on. Maybe once he founds his first holy sites. I know it gives a culture bond, but just give it some extra faith when he founds his first holy site, so you can get that pantheon up. Missionaries, especially with reliquaries, he just needs those to help his base ability function, because that additional tourism really, really helps if you can't get San Michel. Okay. So, Mvemba Nzinga. I actually have not played him a lot, just because I don't like the fact that he can't found a religion. But I do like the additional synergy towards relics. Again, kind of similar to Poland, and to a lesser extent like Georgia, and Ethiopia too. I'm not going to really be considering secret societies, because that's like an optional mode. So maybe I'll just mention it here and there, but outside of secret societies, his base game function can be a bit lackluster. I'd still consider him a mediocre to moderate civ. I think he is potent with the right start conditions, and maybe just make the Mbanza function a bit better, come earlier than guilds, and just give it something more than like additional food. I don't know. Just make the Mbanza a bit more potent. Okay, aside from it just coming earlier. Maybe like additional culture for the housing it has. Korea is in a bit of a rough spot because they are entirely reliant on their Seowans. They are a very powerful civ, especially since they can get consistent +8 campuses with the, what is it? Not rationalism, but I think whatever policy card it is that doubles campus adjacency. But I just don't like how they kind of theme around super powerful Seowans. Also, her bonus Hwarang can be really, really ridiculous, and it's not very interactive. I just don't like it. So maybe just change that around a bit. The Seowan, I mean, it's consistent, but it's just boring. Just give it some more oomph. Kind of like the Indians in the Stepwell. Just give it some more pizzazz. All right, the Macedonians and Alexander with their Hellenistic fusion. I guess, I don't know. I think he has he has a unique unit along with the Hypaspist. I don't think I'd change anything with Alexander. He's perfectly fine. He has a unique mechanic around conquering cities with wonders. And the Basilikoi Paides? My Greek is terrible, so forgive me, but it is fairly interesting with its scientific bonuses. Mansa Musa, I'd say he's also fairly balanced. I wouldn't change anything about him. Maybe make deserts more forgiving, but outside of that, he has a unique synergy with deserts. Coupe, on the other hand, I don't know, he is super, super powerful with preserves. I guess like with the Inca, I'd nerf preserves just a tiny little bit. Kind of similar to America's situation with preserves. It's just they kind of break some of these civs and make them insane. Aside from that, he's fine. He's had some balancing issues early on, but maybe just nerf the yields. I love his playstyle. Starting out in the ocean is super, super fun. Now the Mapuche with Tokui and Lotaro. I love the Mapuche. Someone converted me. I just like how they function with their chamomile, primarily because of their chamomile, and it's just amazing design. I like the look of it, and the culture and the appeal is really, really nice. Maybe I just change the chamomile and make it available to be built next to preserves, and kind of just keep that additional culture. I mean, preserves plus chamomile, since they kind of function based off of the appeal of the tile, that could be super, super powerful. Maybe I'd change the Mapuche to be more focused around raiding, since they kind of have a conquering focused play style, and I don't know if that necessarily suits them or is historically accurate. Maybe they have some additional raiding bonuses, kind of similar to Norway, but based on land, and they get some additional movements for cavalry units. Though that could be a bit powerful. I don't know. Yeah, I'd still buff the Mapuche all around. But they are fun to play with, no doubt. Lady Six Sky, another civ that I would buff. Cities do not receive additional housing from being adjacent to fresh water, and that is super, super, not powerful. That is just bad. Because basically with the Maya, I mean, their entire playstyle outside of the Hulche is like contradictory. I mean, you get increased farms from or increased gold from building a lot of farms, yet you'd want to have a whole play style to go for that, as well as the observatory. You'd want to build a lot of observatories and cities to maximize the plantation bonuses, but I mean, it's all held back by the reduced component from Lady Six Sky's ability X Mutal Ajal, which means that you're getting minus 15% to all yields, which is super, super crippling if you're like 6 tiles away from the city. Maybe I just increase this to 8 tiles and increase it to like plus 20% to all yields, and allow jungles to be chopped a lot earlier, as well as being able to build farms on jungles earlier, just to kind of get these observatories up and really maximize that science. Genghis and Kublai, I think they're fairly balanced. Kublai Khan, Mongolia, is a lot better than his Chinese counterpart. Outside of that, I'd say Mongolia is fine. They're a domination civ. They like horses. That's kind of it. Norway, I love Norway. I don't know if I'd change anything about them. Maybe buff the Stave Church slightly. I actually played them recently in a live stream. I'd say just maybe buff the Stave Church just a bit. Maybe you could even give them some unique interactivity with mountains later in the game and tourism. But they're fine for me. Amani Toure, she's also perfectly fine for me. At least in my opinion, in my brief experience playing with her. Her Tasseti Rush can be a bit abusive. Maybe just make the Nubian Pyramid a bit better, and in turn nerf the Tasseti Rush that she can potentially whip up. I mean, she can completely massacre the enemy if they are caught unprepared. Suleiman, I think he's fairly balanced. I don't know if there's any strong or consistent Turkey or Ottoman players out there, but from my experience, they're fine. The Janissary is kind of unique, as well as the Grand Bazaar and the Barbary Corsair. I think he has a very consistent playstyle. Cyrus, I think he's also fine. Yeah, the trade routes is nice. And the culture, the Paradisa is really fun to build and kind of theme around different tiles. I don't think I'd change anything with that. Dido, I might maybe just change out her writing Eureka, because that is super easy to get, and just give them some bonuses to the Kothon. It is kind of not that potent once you're done like settling a bunch of different cities. So maybe just give it some science bonuses for like coastal yields or whatever, coastal resources, because Phoenicia can be kind of weak outside of, or after you're settling a ton of cities and get out the ancient and classical era. And once that bonus starts to wear off, they're like kind of a vanilla civ. So, yeah, that's kind of my opinion on them. Not too adamant about giving them a huge buff, but they're somewhere in the middle of the pack. But they are fun to play with. Jadwiga, I think all in all, I might buff the Sukiniche. I like her culture bomb. The Sukiniche, that is an amazing design, but unfortunately it is a bit weak. I mean, +1 production, or +2 production is kind of weak. Maybe just incentivize, I don't know, give some culture to each trade route or something like that. Maybe some additional tourism, or something to do with luxury, since it is a cloth hall. Outside of that, Poland is fairly consistent. Okay, Portugal, that hasn't been added yet, but I think they're going to be a fairly fun civ to play. And stay tuned for that in the future. Outside of that, I mean, I haven't played Portugal yet, so I can't say anything. Rome, they are like a completely balanced civ. I don't see anything wrong with Rome, so I'm going to pass on that. Russia, I think they are a bit too strong. They grow super, super fast, and the holy site potential with the Lavra is insane, just to put it bluntly. Maybe reduce the fact that like you get, I think, an additional border boost from the Lavra, and some of the great writer and great artist points can come in a bit early, which leaves you with a ton of extra great artists. So maybe change that around just a bit. Russia is still fun to play though. But I mean, once you know how to abuse Russia, it can be really, really boring, just because they can get ahead super, super fast. And the Cossack can be a bit of a bruiser if you know what you're doing. All right, Robert the Bruce. I don't know, the Highlander is a bit weak. I'd change him around a bit. Basically, a recon unit that comes in the industrial era is like one of the most useless units. You'd only build this for additional era score. And unless you're like founding cities in the late game, I don't know why you'd want to go for a Highlander. I just really don't know why. Just make him come earlier and actually just give it something more, like some additional combat strength, aside from just being strong in the hills and the woods. Just give it something extra. And then maybe just make the golf course a bit stronger. I mean, for all of the specific culture bonuses and gold requirements that you need with the placement and whatnot, they're not really that good. Give it some stronger amenities. I mean, it's +2 amenities, but still, give it something stronger. It's kind of just a general theme with this. Just jack up the yields for Scotland. I don't think you need to redesign their kit. Scythia, I haven't played them a lot, but I think they're fine. That extra copy for the light cavalry is super powerful. And for those saying Scythia needs a nerf, I just completely disagree. The Saka Horse Archer by itself is very potent, just because it's a ranged horse archer, and that can be really good in open terrain, usually where Scythia starts with their horse requirements. And I think that Kurgan is probably the weakest part of their toolkits, but I mean, it's still okay, in my opinion. Okay, who is next? Philippe. We are almost done. We have like 5 civs to go. He is a controversial civilization, to say the least, or a civilization and its leader, Spain, I guess. The Conquistador, they have basically, they're themed around kind of, I think, auto-converting their city. Actually, I take that back. Okay, no, never mind. I take that back. They basically are themed around converting cities to your majority religion. So obviously you would want to have some emphasis towards getting a religion early as Spain, especially since they have bonus strength against enemy units following another religion. So since Spain is kind of a very mountainous region, maybe give them bonuses towards mountains, like giving great prophet points. I don't know. Just something that gets them a religion really early. And then the mission is a really slept on improvement. If you settle them on a foreign continent, or settle a city on a foreign continent with a mission, you can get like +1 food, +1 production, and +2 faith, which is really powerful. But aside from that, just give Spain some extra great profit points, and maybe make their trade routes a bit more unique. I don't know, the fleets and armadas is like negligible since the AI sucks. They are absolute dog shit at combat. So they're just, the AI is bad. I don't know why you'd ever bother, even with like other players in a competitive multiplayer game. The fleets and armadas is just, it's negligible. It's useless, to say the least. Unless you're like killing barbarians. Gilgamesh, I really love the ziggurats. I'd say make it less spammable, because I always see the AI just spamming these things everywhere. I understand why you do that, and it is a viable strategy, but it's very annoying, and it's just a strong improvement. But maybe just relegate it, kind of like the chateau, to the river, and I don't know, maybe give it some bonuses, like with faith, to adjacent districts, because they are kind of like themed around the center of a city. They're even like holy sites too, so I don't understand why they don't have any like faith synergy. I guess just because Sumeria is not a faith-based civilization, but that faith still could come in usefully, or it could still come in useful, especially since you need faith to get heroes, and with the Heroes and Legends mode, Gilgamesh does get a bonus to production towards heroes, and he is just incentivized to recruit them a lot in higher qualities and at a quicker speed. Christina, I think Sweden is fairly balanced. The auto-theming with her ability, Minerva of the North, is a bit powerful. That is what it is, right? Okay, it is auto-theming. I was thinking that Bibliotech had that ability, but I don't think that is the case. But Sweden is fairly consistent. I think Vietnam is also fairly consistent. And Shaka, the last Civ and Civ leader, actually. I'm surprised we got through here so quickly without my voice dying. I did have to take a few breaks and pauses, but I'll edit those out. Anyhow, the Ikanda is okay, and Isibongo is okay. I guess he's kind of been overshadowed by some later domination civs like Byzantium, but all in all, I think he's a very consistent civ and civ leader. Maybe gives him some bonuses towards the Ikanda and culture so he can keep up. But the early core is super powerful, and maybe just going back to Vietnam, The ton can be a bit excessive with the theming and the districts, because it gets tourism for those of you who didn't know. Extra tourism for each adjacent district. Word spaghetti there. Tourism and culture for each adjacent district. Actually, I think it's just culture. I take that back. But that culture, maybe just change it to +1 culture for each adjacent district. That can be a bit excessive. When you can get like +12 culture, that is fairly insane. So I think that covers it for everyone on the list. I'm surprised I actually managed to cover all like 50 civilizations. That is a lot of civs. But I am a bit exhausted here, so it is like the middle of the night. And I just hope you guys liked this content. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. My Portugal Let's Play is this Thursday. So if you want to see some gameplay, where is he? But there you are, with João and Casa da India and all of that shenaz. Make sure to stay tuned for then. Until then, I think this is going to be the end of today's video. If you like the video, again, leave a like. And this has been Civ Extraordinaire. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and this should be it. Peace.